You wouldn't make it to sunrise, not because you're weak, not because you're unprepared, but because the world 2.7 million years ago was designed to kill anything that didn't belong there. And you, with your soft skin, your slow reflexes, your dependence on tools you don't have, would be the easiest prey that landscape had seen in 1,000 generations. The moment you arrived, every predator within a mile would know. They'd smell the fear in your sweat, hear the panic in your breathing, see the confusion in the way you moved, upright, exposed, without the low crouch of something that understands it's being hunted. You'd have no fire, no shelter, no weapon except your bare hands, which haven't gripped anything heavier than a coffee cup in years. The temperature would drop 40 degrees after sunset, and you'd have no way to stay warm except to keep moving. But movement makes noise, and noise brings attention from things that see in the dark better than you see in daylight. 24 hours, that's all we're asking. One full rotation of a planet that looks almost like home, but isn't, not even close. This isn't a survival fantasy. This is a reconstruction based on fossil evidence, paleoclimatology, and predator behavior patterns that haven't changed in millions of years. This is what the data tells us would happen if you stepped through a portal into the Pliocene epoch and tried to survive until morning. Spoiler, you wouldn't. But before we explore exactly how you die, and make no mistake, we will explore every possibility. Let's establish where you'd be dying. East Africa, the Great Rift Valley, somewhere in what will one day become Tanzania, or Kenya, or Ethiopia. The cradle of humanity, they call it in your time. The place where our ancestors first stood upright and looked at the horizon and decided to walk toward it. But you're not arriving at a cradle, you're arriving at a killing floor. The air hits you first. It's thicker than you expect, heavy with moisture and the smell of grass and something else. Something raw and biological that you can't quite place. It's the smell of a world without pollution, without agriculture, without the chemical signature of industrial civilization. It smells clean in a way that's almost offensive to your modern senses, which have spent your entire life filtering out exhaust fumes and synthetic fragrances. This is what Earth smells like when 7 billion humans haven't spent 2 centuries burning fossil fuels. The sky is bigger than any sky you've ever seen. No light pollution means the stars are so bright they cast shadows. The moon, if it's out, looks close enough to touch. You can see the Milky Way stretched across the dome of heaven like a river of light. And for a moment, just a moment, you might feel awe instead of terror. Then you hear the sound. It's distant at first, a low cough that rolls across the savanna like distant thunder, then another, then a third, closer this time. You don't recognize it because you've only heard lions in zoos, behind barriers, sedated by captivity into something that barely resembles their wild ancestors. This lion isn't sedated. This lion is hungry, and you just became the most interesting thing in its territory. Your first instinct is to run. Don't. Running triggers the chase response in every predator within visual range. You're not faster than anything here. The slowest gazelle on this plain could outrun an Olympic sprinter. And you're not an Olympic sprinter. You're someone who takes the elevator to avoid 3 flights of stairs. Your second instinct is to climb a tree. Better, but still probably fatal. The trees here aren't like the trees in your neighborhood park. They're acacia trees with thorns the length of your fingers. And the branches don't start until 20 feet up. Even if you could climb one, doubtful with your soft hands and office worker upper body strength, you'd be trapped. Leopards hunt from trees. You'd be climbing directly into a predator's preferred ambush position. Your third instinct is to freeze, to make yourself small, to hope it doesn't see you. That's the instinct that might buy you a few extra minutes, but only a few, because you're not invisible. You're 6 feet tall, upright, silhouetted against the savanna grass. You're wearing clothes that smell like synthetic fabric and laundry detergent, scents that don't exist in nature, that mark you as foreign, as wrong, and you're breathing too fast, too loud, pushing panic-scented air into an environment where every predator has spent millions of years learning to read fear. The lion coughs again, closer. You can't see it, which means it's downwind, which means it can smell you, but you can't smell it, which means it's already decided whether you're food. If you fall asleep at any point, that's perfectly okay. You don't need to stay awake or focus. Just let the words drift around you. Let's pause here for a moment. Let's step back from the immediate terror and talk about what you're actually seeing. Because this landscape is both familiar and utterly alien. It's savanna, but not the savanna you've seen in nature documentaries. This is Pliocene Africa, 2.7 million years before the present. The climate is warmer. The grass is different species than the grass you know. The trees are spaced differently because megafauna, giant herbivores you've never heard of, have shaped the landscape through their feeding patterns. The horizon shimmers in the heat. You can see for miles because the vegetation is patchy. Open woodland mixed with grassland. In the distance, maybe 2 miles away, a herd of something massive moves slowly across your field of vision. Too far to identify, but they're big. Elephant-sized, maybe bigger. Those aren't elephants. They're Dinotherium, extinct relatives of modern elephants with tusks that curve downward instead of up. They're herbivores, which means they're not interested in eating you. But they're also extremely territorial. And if you stumbled into that herd in the dark, they'd trample you without a second thought. Each one weighs 6 tons. Your body wouldn't even slow them down. Closer, maybe half a mile away, you see a group of smaller animals. They're moving in formation, heads up, alert. They look almost like antelope, but their proportions are wrong. Too heavy in the shoulders. Horns shaped differently. Those are relatives of modern wildebeest. But 3 times the size, everything here is bigger than it should be. Evolution hasn't optimized for efficiency yet. It's still experimenting with scale. The predators are larger because the prey is larger. The prey is larger because the vegetation is richer. The vegetation is richer because the climate is warmer and wetter than it will be in your time. This is Earth in the Pliocene, and it's lousy with megafauna. Which brings us to the thing you haven't noticed yet. The thing that's been watching you since the moment you arrived. It's standing in the grass 50 yards to your left, motionless, patient. It doesn't need to rush. It's been hunting these plains for 20 years. And it knows exactly how prey behaves when it realizes it's been spotted. You turn your head slowly and you see it. At first, your brain tries to categorize it as a lion. It's about the right size, maybe 400 pounds, built low and muscular, but something's wrong. The proportions are off. The skull is too broad. The teeth, and you can see the teeth because it's not bothering to hide them, are too long. This isn't a lion. This is Dinofelis, the false saber-tooth cat, an ambush predator that specialized in hunting primates. Your ancestors, your distant evolutionary cousins, things that looked like you, moved like you, and died screaming in jaws designed specifically to crack through primate skulls. It's been watching you for 5 minutes, deciding, calculating, waiting to see if you'll run. Don't run. Let yourself settle a little deeper. Here's what Dinofelis knows that you don't. This isn't the first upright primate it's seen today. 3 miles from here, there's a small band of them, Australopithecus afarensis. Lucy's species, if you remember your high school biology. They're not quite human, not quite ape. They walk upright most of the time, but they're still comfortable in trees. They have longer arms than you, stronger hands, better peripheral vision, and they know their prey. That's the difference. That's the thing that's going to kill you faster than anything else. They know. They've spent their entire lives on these plains, watching the grass for movement, listening for the sound of something heavy pushing through vegetation, reading the behavior of other animals to know when predators are near. When the birds go quiet, they climb. When the gazelles start running, they follow. When the wind shifts and brings the smell of carrion, they go the other direction, because where there's carrion, there are predators. And where there are predators, there's danger. They know these things the way you know how to breathe. Instinct, pattern recognition, survival skills encoded through 10,000 generations of evolutionary pressure. You know none of this. You don't know which bird calls mean leopard in the trees versus eagle overhead. You don't know that when herbivores face the same direction with their ears forward, they're tracking something dangerous. You don't know that the absence of insect noise means something large just moved through the area. You're functionally illiterate in a landscape where illiteracy is fatal. The Dinofelis shifts its weight. Not much. Just a small adjustment of its back legs, coiling the muscles in preparation for something. You notice the movement and your heart rate spikes. The predator sees the change in your posture, the way your shoulders tense, the way your breathing accelerates, and interprets it correctly. You're afraid, which means you're prey, which means this is about to be very simple. It's been 10 minutes since you arrived. You have 23 hours and 50 minutes left. You're not going to make it. Just let the thoughts drift softly. Let's talk about what happens next. But let's do it slowly. Let's let the tension drain away a little, because you're here to sleep, not to panic. And the truth is, if you were actually in this situation, the panic would fade too. Not because the danger disappeared, but because adrenaline can only sustain terror for so long before exhaustion takes over. So let's breathe. Let's watch this from a distance. Let's imagine you somehow, against all probability, survive this encounter with Dinofelis. Maybe it's not quite hungry enough. Maybe it's already fed today and you're not worth the energy expenditure. Maybe it's young and inexperienced and misreads your species as something dangerous, something to avoid. Whatever the reason, it watches you for another minute, then turns and walks away. Not hurried, not concerned, just disinterested. You don't move for 10 minutes after it disappears into the grass. Your legs are shaking. Your hands are numb. You've been breathing so shallowly that your head is spinning. Welcome to hour 1. The sun is getting lower. You have maybe 3 hours of usable daylight left, and you have no idea what to do with it. In movies, the protagonist would immediately start gathering resources, building shelter, making fire, finding water, but you don't know how to do any of those things. You've seen them done on television. You've maybe gone camping a few times. With a tent you bought at REI and a lighter in your pocket, and a cell phone to call for help if anything went wrong. You don't have any of those things now. You have your clothes, which are already soaked with sweat and will be useless once the temperature drops. You have your knowledge, which is extensive in areas that don't matter here and absent in areas that do. And you have your modern human body, which is optimized for endurance walking and tool use and not much else. You need water. That's not negotiable. The human body can survive 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. In this heat, with this much stress, you might not even have 3 days. You might have 1. You don't have to remember any of this. There's water nearby. You can hear it. A river, maybe a quarter mile away, cutting through the savanna. The sound of flowing water is unmistakable even to your untrained ears. But here's the problem. Every animal on this plain needs water too. Rivers aren't neutral spaces. They're congregation points, social hubs. The most dangerous real estate in the entire ecosystem because everyone has to be there at some point, and everyone includes things that want to kill you. Still, you don't have a choice. Dehydration will kill you just as effectively as a predator, and at least with a predator, there's a chance you'll die quickly. You start walking toward the sound of water. The grass is taller than you expected. It comes up to your chest in places, blocking your view of everything except the sky. This should feel safe, hidden, protected, but it doesn't. You can't see what's in the grass with you, which means you can't see what's hunting you. Every few steps you stop and listen. The sound of your own footsteps seems deafeningly loud. You're not trying to be stealthy. You don't know how. You're just moving. And every branch you step on, every rustle of fabric against vegetation, announces your location to everything within earshot. Something moves in the grass to your right. You freeze. It's small, low to the ground. You catch a glimpse of fur, a flash of movement, then nothing. Probably harmless. Probably something that's more afraid of you than you are of it. Probably. You keep walking. The sound of water gets louder. You're close now, maybe 50 yards. You can smell it too. That fresh, clean smell of moving water that your civilization-adapted senses find so appealing. You push through the last section of tall grass and stop at the tree line. The river is beautiful, 20 feet wide, moving fast enough to stay clear, but not so fast that you couldn't cross it. The water looks clean. There are rocks you could use as stepping stones, trees on both sides providing shade and what looks like safe crossing points. It's perfect, which is why you notice them immediately. 3 crocodiles on the far bank, motionless, patient, their eyes above the waterline, watching the crossing points where animals come to drink. These aren't the crocodiles you know from documentaries. These are their ancestors, longer, heavier, with skulls built for crushing bone, 20 feet long, maybe more, 1,000 pounds of predatory efficiency that's been perfected over 100 million years. They're not hiding. They don't need to hide. They just wait. Sooner or later, everything comes to the water. You stand at the tree line for 10 minutes, trying to decide what to do. You need water, but approaching that river is suicide, unless let yourself drift with this. You follow the river downstream, staying in the trees, hoping to find a section where the banks are higher or the water is shallower or the crocodiles are somewhere else. The sun is touching the horizon now. You have maybe an hour of light left. You find a spot where the river narrows and the current is faster. There are no crocodiles visible, which either means it's safe or means they're hiding better here. You have no way to know which. You're so thirsty. Your tongue feels thick. Your head is pounding. You know you need to drink something soon, or you'll start making worse decisions than you're already making. You approach the water's edge slowly. Kneel in the mud. Cup your hands and bring water to your lips. It's cold and perfect and probably filled with parasites that your modern immune system has never encountered. Giardia, Cryptosporidium, bacterial infections that won't kill you immediately but will make you wish they had. You drink anyway. What choice do you have? The water tastes like nothing you've ever had from a tap. It tastes alive, mineral-rich, slightly earthy, cold enough to hurt your teeth. You drink until you're not thirsty anymore. Then you drink a little more because you don't know when you'll get another chance. Then you hear it, a sound like a heavy branch breaking, then another, then a trumpet call that's so loud it vibrates in your chest. You look up. 50 yards upstream, coming through the trees to drink, is something out of a nightmare. It's elephant-shaped, but wrong. The tusks point downward. The head is massive. It's bigger than any elephant you've ever seen in a zoo. Dinotherium, the same species you saw from a distance earlier, but there's no distance now. It's coming to the river to drink, and you're in its way. You don't need to hold on to this. You back away from the water slowly. The massive herbivore doesn't seem to notice you, or doesn't care. It's focused on the river, on the water it needs. But there are more coming. You can hear them crashing through the vegetation. A whole herd moving to the water source at dusk, which is apparently when they feel safest. You're surrounded by 6-ton animals that can't see well and startle easily. You do the only thing you can do. You run, not away from them. That would require crossing their path, which would get you trampled. You run parallel to the herd, trying to circle around them, trying to get to open ground where you can see and be seen. Your foot catches on something, a root, a rock. You don't know. You go down hard. The impact knocks the wind out of you. You lie there for a moment, gasping, and you hear them, the herd, moving closer. The ground is shaking with their footsteps. You roll, you get to your feet. You stumble forward and break through the tree line into open savanna. The herd passes 30 feet behind you, oblivious to your presence, focused only on water. You collapse in the grass, breathing hard, and realize two things simultaneously. One, the sun has set. You're out of daylight. Two, you have no idea where you are. In your panic, you ran in a direction you can't retrace. The river is behind you somewhere, but you can't hear it anymore over the sound of your own heartbeat. You're alone in the dark on the Pliocene savanna, and the temperature is already dropping. Hour 2 is over. You have 22 hours left. 801. Just let your breathing settle into its own rhythm. The stars come out, and are overwhelming. You've never seen this many stars. Even on camping trips far from cities, you've never seen the sky look like this. The Milky Way isn't a faint smudge. It's a river of light cutting across the dome of heaven. Individual stars are so bright they cast shadows. For a moment, you forget to be terrified. For a moment, you just look up and feel small in a way that's almost comforting. Then something screams in the distance, and the moment passes. The night is louder than the day. Everything is hunting now. You can hear things moving through the grass, but you can't see them. You can hear vocalizations you don't recognize. Coughs, clicks, howls, roars. Some of them sound almost human, which is worse than if they sounded completely alien. Those almost human sounds, those are other primates, your distant relatives. Australopithecus bands communicating with each other in the darkness, warning each other about dangers you can't see. They're in the trees now, safe, hidden. They'll stay there until dawn. You're not in a tree. You're in the open, sitting in grass that provides no concealment, shivering as the temperature drops from comfortable to cold to genuinely uncomfortable. You need shelter. You need warmth. You need to be somewhere that isn't exposed on all sides. You start walking. You have no destination in mind, just a vague sense that staying still is death. The grass rustles. You freeze. Something is moving parallel to you, pacing you, staying just out of sight. Your monkey brain, the ancient part of your nervous system that evolved on these plains, starts screaming warnings. Every instinct you have is telling you to run, to climb, to make yourself big and loud and scary. Or you do none of those things because you remember what happened with the Dinofelis. You remember that running triggers pursuit. That panic invites attack. You keep walking, slowly, deliberately, trying to look like you know where you're going, like you're not easy prey. The thing in the grass keeps pace. This goes on for 20 minutes. You walking, it following, neither of you making the first move. Then it stops. The sound of movement ceases. You don't know if it lost interest or if it's preparing to strike or if it was never a threat at all. Just another animal moving through its territory, briefly curious about the strange upright thing that doesn't smell like it belongs. You keep walking. You don't have a choice. Let yourself sink a little deeper into rest. You find a termite mound. It's enormous, 10 feet tall, built by millions of insects over decades. The walls are hard as concrete. There's a hollow at the base, maybe large enough for you to squeeze into. It's not shelter, exactly, but it's better than the open grass. You crawl into the hollow. It's cramped and dark and smells like earth and insect. Your back is pressed against one wall. Your knees drawn up to your chest. You can't stretch out. You can barely move, but you're hidden, sort of. And the walls are thick enough that maybe they'll provide some protection from the cold. You're so tired, the adrenaline is wearing off. Your body is starting to realize how much energy you've burned through fear and panic and walking on terrain your modern muscles aren't designed for. You could sleep, should sleep. You're exhausted enough that even terror can't keep you awake much longer. But sleeping feels like giving up, like closing your eyes and hoping you wake up, which is a coin flip at best. Still, you can feel it pulling at you, the weight of exhaustion, the need for rest. Your eyes close, you drift, and somewhere in the darkness, something else is drifting too. Something large and hungry and patient. It's found your scent trail, found where you crawled into the termite mound, and it's settling in to wait because it knows you'll have to come out eventually. And when you do, it'll be ready. You don't have to stay awake for this. Let's step away from the immediate danger for a moment. Let's talk about what's happening in your body right now. Because even if you somehow survive the predators, your own biology is working against you. You've been in the Pliocene for 4 hours. You're already experiencing the early stages of hypothermia. The temperature has dropped to maybe 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Not freezing, but cold enough that your inadequate clothing and lack of shelter are becoming serious problems. Your body is burning calories trying to stay warm. You're shivering constantly, which generates heat but depletes energy you can't replace. You haven't eaten anything since you arrived, and you won't eat anything unless you figure out which plants are safe. which you won't, because that knowledge requires years of trial and error your ancestors paid for with their lives. Everything here can kill you. Every berry might be poisonous. Every root might contain toxins. Even if you could hunt, which you can't, you'd have no way to cook the meat. And raw meat from wild animals is a parasitic nightmare waiting to happen. So you're cold, hungry, and getting weaker. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is your feet. You've been walking on rough terrain in shoes that were designed for sidewalks. Maybe you're wearing sneakers, maybe boots if you're lucky. Either way, they're not designed for this. The soles are thin, the support is minimal, and you've been walking for hours on ground covered in thorns, sharp rocks, and hidden holes. Your feet are developing blisters. You can feel them forming with every step. Hot spots that will become fluid-filled sacs that will eventually burst and leave raw. Weeping wounds that will get infected because you're walking through dirt and animal waste, and you have no way to keep them clean. In a few more hours, you won't be able to walk. You'll be hobbling, limping, moving slowly. And slow is dead on the Pliocene savanna. Just let the information settle like dust. Inside the termite mound, you sleep fitfully. Your body keeps jerking awake every time a sound penetrates your hollow. And there are many sounds. Insects, birds that hunt at night, the distant roar of something large asserting its territory. You dream, and your dreams are confused. You're trying to check your phone, but you don't have it. You're trying to call for help, but there's no one to call. You're running, but your legs won't move right. You wake with a start, and it's still dark. No, darker than before. The stars are hidden behind clouds. You can hear wind picking up, rattling through the dry grass, and you can hear breathing. Something is outside the termite mound, close. You can hear it sniffing at the entrance to your hollow. You can smell it, a sharp, musky scent that triggers something primal in your nervous system. Hyena, not the spotted hyenas of modern Africa, which are bad enough. This is Pachycrocuta brevirostris, the giant short-faced hyena. It stands 3.5 feet at the shoulder and weighs 200 pounds. Its jaws can crack elephant bones. It smelled you, tracked you, waited patiently while you slept. Now it's deciding whether you're worth the effort of pulling you out of your hole. You press yourself against the back wall of the hollow. You're trying to be silent, trying not to breathe, but your heart is hammering so loud you're sure it can hear it. The hyena sniffs again, makes a low sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a growl. Then it starts digging, not frantically, not desperately, just methodically removing the earth at the entrance to your hollow, making the opening wider, making it easier to reach you. You'll have nowhere to go. The hollow only goes back 4 feet. You're trapped. This is how you die. Pulled from a hole by a creature that will eat you alive because hyenas don't kill their prey before feeding. They just start eating. They're not cruel. They're efficient. They're doing what evolution designed them to do. But you don't want to be efficient. You want to be alive. You scream. It's not strategic. It's not brave. You just scream because your body doesn't know what else to do. The hyena stops digging, goes silent. For a moment, nothing happens. Then you hear it move away. Not far, just backing up a few feet. Your scream has confused it. You don't sound like the prey it usually hunts. You sound like something else, something that might be dangerous. It's reconsidering. You don't have to hold any of this. You stay absolutely still. You don't make another sound. You barely breathe. The hyena waits. 5 minutes, 10, patient as stone. Then something else happens. Something you hear but can't see. Another animal approaching, bigger, heavier, the sound of footsteps that shake the ground slightly with each impact. The hyena moves away from your hollow. You hear it vocalizing. A warning sound, a challenge. Whatever's coming doesn't care. The footsteps continue, steady, unhurried. Then you hear a sound that makes your blood freeze, a roar, but not like the lion from earlier. This is deeper, more bass, the kind of sound you feel in your chest before you hear it with your ears. Dinofelis is back, and it's challenging the hyena for the right to eat you. You're not prey anymore. You're a resource, a meal that 2 apex predators are fighting over while you hide in a hole and pray they forget you're there. The sound of the fight is terrible. Snarling, impact, dust falling from the walls of your hollow as bodies slam into the ground nearby. It doesn't last long, maybe 30 seconds, then silence, then the sound of something being dragged away. One of them is dead or injured badly enough that it's no longer a threat. The other has won, and now it's alone with you. You can hear it breathing outside your hollow, can hear it moving, circling. Then the breathing stops. You wait. 1 minute, 2, 5, nothing. Whatever it was, it's gone. Either it dragged the hyena away to eat in peace, or it decided you weren't worth the additional effort, or it heard something else more interesting and went to investigate. You don't know. You don't dare leave the hollow to check. You stay pressed against the back wall, shaking, and you realize something. The sky is getting lighter, not much, just the faintest gray at the edges of the darkness. Dawn is coming. You've survived the night. You're 8 hours in. You have 16 hours left. Just let yourself be still. The sun rises slowly, turning the sky from black to gray to pink to gold. The transformation is beautiful in a way that feels almost cruel. How can the world look this peaceful when everything in it is trying to kill you? Birds start calling, not the birds you know. These are their ancestors, primitive versions with slightly different songs. But the effect is the same. The savanna wakes up, the diurnal animals emerge, the nocturnal hunters retreat to wherever they sleep during the day. You crawl out of the termite mound slowly, painfully. Your back is locked up from being curled in an uncomfortable position for hours. Your legs don't want to straighten. Your feet are screaming agony with every movement. The ground outside the hollow is torn up from the fight. You can see blood in the dirt, drag marks leading away into the grass, but no bodies. Nothing to tell you which predator won or what happened to the loser. You stand in the morning light and take stock. You're alive. That's surprising. You're injured, blistered feet, scrapes and cuts from vegetation, developing dehydration despite drinking from the river. That's expected. You have no plan. That's the problem. In movies, the survivor would use this day to prepare, to gather resources, to build a better shelter, to make a weapon. But you don't know how to do any of those things. You've seen fire started with bow drills on YouTube, but you've never tried it. You've read about making spears from branches, but you've never shaped wood without power tools. You've heard that you can eat certain roots and tubers, but you can't identify them. Every skill that would keep you alive right now is skill you don't have. So you do the only thing you can do. You walk. You can let your attention soften. You head toward higher ground. This isn't strategy. It's instinct. From a hill, you can see further. You can spot danger before it's on top of you. Maybe you can find the river again. Maybe you can find something that looks like shelter. The walking is harder than yesterday. Your feet are worse. Your energy is lower. You're limping now, favoring your left foot where the worst blister has formed. You're not covering ground quickly, maybe 1 mile per hour. An injured prey animal broadcasting its weakness to everything within sight. You reach the hill after 2 hours of painful progress. From the top, you can see for miles. The savanna stretches to the horizon in every direction. There's the river, maybe 3 miles away now. You got turned around more than you realized in the dark. There are herds scattered across the plain. Dozens of species you don't recognize. Some look almost familiar. Ancient relatives of buffalo, zebra, antelope. Others look like nothing that exists in your time. Evolutionary experiments that will die out in 1,000,000 years, leaving no descendants. And there, maybe a mile away, you see something that makes your heart skip. Smoke. A thin column of smoke rising from a cluster of trees. Fire means intelligence. Fire means humans. or at least something close to human, you start walking toward it immediately. This is it. This is your chance. If you can find the fire makers, if you can communicate with them somehow, maybe they'll let you stay with the group. Maybe you can survive by attaching yourself to people who know what they're doing. It takes you an hour to cover the mile. You're moving so slowly now, every step is pain. As you get closer, you can see movement in the trees. Figures. They're small, smaller than you expected. Maybe 4 feet tall, maybe a little more. Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy's people. You approach carefully. You don't want to startle them. You raise your hands to show you're not a threat, which is probably meaningless to them, but makes you feel better. One of them sees you, goes very still, then makes a sound, a sharp bark that brings the others alert immediately. They stare at you. You stare at them. They're more ape-like than you expected. The faces are flatter than a chimpanzee's, but not as flat as yours. The eyes are large. The arms are long. They're covered in hair. Not fur exactly, but thick body hair that provides protection and warmth. And they're terrified of you. You're too big, too strange, too wrong. You don't smell like them. You don't move like them. You're wearing cloth they've never seen. You're a walking nightmare made flesh. One of them screams, then they all scream, and they run. Just let the words wash over you. They disappear into the trees faster than you can follow. The fire, your hope, your lifeline, abandoned. They're not coming back. You stand there, defeated, and realize what you've done. You've terrified your own ancestors. The only humans on the planet who might have helped you have fled because you're too different, too threatening. You're alone again. You walk to the abandoned fire. It's dying, just embers now, but still warm. There's evidence of their meal, bones cracked open for marrow, scattered fruit rinds, digging sticks lying in the dirt. You could stay here, try to keep the fire going, but you don't know how. You've never maintained a fire without matches or a lighter. You've never fed embers carefully enough to coax flame from dying coals. You try anyway. You gather dry grass, blow on the embers gently, but your breath is too strong or too weak or too something, and the embers just dim and darken and go cold. The fire dies while you're holding grass over it, hoping, and with it dies your best chance at surviving the night. You sit there in the abandoned camp, surrounded by evidence of people who knew how to live here, and you feel the weight of your own inadequacy settle over you like a blanket. 10 hours in, 14 to go. You're not going to make it. Let yourself drift with this. The afternoon is hot, brutally hot. The kind of heat that makes the horizon shimmer and dance. You're out of water again. The river is too far to reach before nightfall, and even if you could reach it, you'd have to navigate the crocodiles again, the megafauna again, the predators that congregated water sources. You're trapped between your need for water and your inability to safely obtain it. This is how exposure kills, not dramatically, not with a single moment of crisis, just a slow accumulation of problems: dehydration, hypothermia, exhaustion, each one making the others worse until your body simply stops functioning. You find a tree with shade and collapse beneath it. Your feet are bleeding now. The blisters have burst. Every step leaves a smear of blood in the dirt. You're leaving a scent trail that every predator within miles can follow. You should keep moving. Staying still is dangerous, but you can't. Your body has hit its limit. You're done. You lie in the shade and watch the clouds drift across the sky, and your mind starts to wander. This is what happens when the brain runs out of glucose. Thoughts become disconnected. Time becomes elastic. You're not sure if minutes are passing or hours. You think about your life back home, the things you worried about that seem so trivial now. Traffic, bills, whether that person texted back, problems that only exist in a world where your survival is guaranteed, where food and water and shelter are so abundant you never think about them. You miss air conditioning. You miss soft beds. You miss toilets and running water and the certainty that you'll wake up tomorrow. You miss being alive in a time when life was easy. You don't have to hold on to this. Something wakes you, not a sound, a feeling. That primal awareness that you're being watched. You open your eyes. There's a cat sitting 15 feet away, not a house cat. A predator, maybe 50 pounds. Built low and muscular with spotted fur and eyes that reflect the late afternoon sun like copper coins. It's been watching you sleep, deciding you're too big to be easy prey, but you're also injured, weak, alone. The cat is doing calculations that evolution has wired into its brain. Risk versus reward. Energy expenditure versus caloric gain. You stare at each other for a long moment. Then it stands, stretches, and walks away. Not because it's afraid, because you're not worth the effort. You've been judged by a predator and found wanting, not as a threat, as a meal. You're not even food anymore. You're just dying slowly. And the predators can tell. 12 hours in, 12 to go. The sun is starting its descent toward the horizon again. You have maybe 3 hours of light left. You can't survive another night. You know this with certainty now. Last night, you had adrenaline. You had some remaining strength. Tonight, you have nothing. Your feet won't carry you to shelter. Your body won't generate enough heat to survive the cold. Your mind won't stay sharp enough to avoid the predators. Tonight is when you die. The only question is how. Just let your breathing deepen if it wants to. You think about your options, and they're all bad. You could try to walk back to the river, but that's hours away, and you won't make it before dark. You'll die somewhere in the grass, alone, probably from hypothermia if the predators don't find you first. You could try to find another termite mound, but you can barely walk. And even if you found one, the hyenas know that trick now. They'll come back, they'll dig you out, and this time you won't have another predator to interrupt them. You could climb a tree, but your body is too weak. Your hands are too soft. You'd fall, break something, and then you'd die even faster. Or you could just stay here, under this tree. Stop fighting. Let whatever happens happen. For a moment, that last option feels almost peaceful. Just close your eyes. Go to sleep. Don't wake up. But something in you, some stubborn animal instinct that doesn't understand surrender, won't let you quit. You've made it this far. 12 hours. Half a day in a world that wants you dead. Maybe you can make it to 13. You start walking, not toward anything. Just away from here, away from the tree where you almost gave up. Your feet scream with every step. Your vision is starting to blur at the edges. You're probably experiencing the early stages of serious dehydration. Your body is rationing blood flow, prioritizing vital organs over peripheral systems. But you walk, one foot in front of the other. This is what your ancestors did. This is how humanity survived, not through strength or intelligence or tools, through persistence, through the sheer bloody-minded refusal to lie down and die. You walk into the gathering dusk, and you don't know where you're going, but you're still moving, still alive, still refusing to become a statistic in the Pliocene fossil record. Let yourself settle deeper still. The stars come out for the second night, and they're just as overwhelming as before. But you don't have time to appreciate them. You're too focused on not dying. You've found another hollow. Not a termite mound this time, just a depression in the ground beneath an overhanging rock. It's not much. Won't provide warmth. Won't hide you from anything that's really looking. But it's something. You curl up in the depression and try to make yourself small. The temperature is dropping fast. You're shivering so hard, your teeth are chattering. Your body is burning its last reserves of energy trying to stay warm. And it's failing. Hypothermia has stages. Stage 1, shivering, confusion, mild disorientation. You're here now. Stage 2, violent shivering, muscle incoordination, stumbling. You'll be here in an hour or two. Stage 3, shivering stops because your body has run out of energy. Paradoxical undressing, hallucinations, terminal burrowing behavior where victims crawl into small spaces to die. This is where you'll spend your final hour. Stage 4, death. Usually from cardiac arrest, your heart simply stops beating because the muscle tissue has gotten too cold to function. You're going to experience all of these stages tonight unless something changes, and nothing is going to change. You lie in your shallow depression and watch your breath turn to vapor in the cold air. And you think about how strange it is that you're going to die like this. No hospital, no doctor, no funeral, just a body that will be scavenged by morning, scattered by hyenas, and eventually weathered down to bones that will fossilize and maybe be found by a paleontologist in 2.7 million years who will wonder what the hell a modern human was doing in the Pliocene. The cold is making you drowsy. This is dangerous. If you fall asleep, you might not wake up, but you're so tired, and sleep is so tempting. You don't need to stay awake for this. Your eyes close, your body stops shivering. This is bad. This is stage 3, but you can't do anything about it. You drift, and in your drifting, you dream. Or maybe you're hallucinating. It's hard to tell the difference when your brain is oxygen deprived and hypothermic. You dream about the Australopithecus band you encountered. You dream that they came back, that they found you, that they're gathering around your still form, curious, cautious. In the dream, one of them reaches out and touches your face. The hand is rough, calloused, warmer than yours. And in the dream, they understand somehow that you're like them, different but related, family separated by time. In the dream, they build a fire, they share their warmth, they let you survive, but it's just a dream. When you open your eyes or your eyelids are so heavy, you're alone. The stars are still above you. The cold is still pressing in, and something is approaching through the darkness. You can hear it. Heavy footsteps, deliberate, coming closer. You try to move, but your body won't respond. This is late-stage hypothermia. Your muscles have stopped working. You're conscious, barely, but paralyzed. The footsteps get closer, stop just outside your hollow. You can't see what it is, can't turn your head, can only lie there and wait for whatever comes next. There's a sound, a sniffing, something large investigating the strange creature in the hollow. Then warmth, sudden and unexpected. Not fire warmth, body warmth. Something has lain down next to you, sharing heat. You can't process what this means. Can't understand why a predator would do this, but you can feel it. The warmth spreading from the body next to yours. Your core temperature stabilizing. You're shivering starting again as your body realizes it has a chance. You drift again. But this time, the drift is different. Not dying, just sleeping, protected somehow. by something you can't see and won't remember clearly when you wake, if you wake. Just let yourself rest completely now. You wake to sunlight. Warm, brilliant sunlight on your face. You're alive. This is surprising. This shouldn't have happened. You're still in the hollow. But whatever was keeping you warm during the night is gone. The depression next to you where something large laid down is still visible in the crushed grass. You don't know what it was. Don't know why it didn't eat you. Maybe it was sick. Maybe it was injured. Maybe it was just curious about the strange creature that didn't belong in its time. Or maybe, and this is the thought that won't leave you, maybe it was one of the Australopithecus band. Maybe they did come back. Maybe they watched over you because some deep genetic memory recognized kin. Even across millions of years of evolution, you'll never know, but you're alive. 18 hours in, 6 to go. You try to stand and can't. Your feet are too damaged. Your body is too weak. You've lost too much water weight, burned too many calories, pushed too far past your limits. You can sit up. That's about it. From your position in the hollow, you can see the savanna spreading out in all directions. The morning herds moving across the plain, the acacia trees dotting the landscape, the river in the distance, glinting in the early sun. It's beautiful, objectively, undeniably beautiful in a way that modern landscapes, shaped by agriculture, scarred by roads, diminished by fences, never quite achieve. This is Earth as it existed for millions of years, raw, wild, indifferent to human presence because humans barely exist yet. And you're privileged to see it even though it's killing you. Let the information settle like dust. You sit in the hollow and watch the day progress. You're past the point of doing anything productive. Past the point of trying to survive. You're just existing now, observing, bearing witness to a world that will vanish in a geological instant. The herds move closer. You see Dinotherium again, those magnificent extinct elephants with downward curving tusks. You see something that looks almost like a horse but isn't. Hipparion, a three-toed equine that will go extinct long before true horses evolve. You see predators hunting in broad daylight, a pack of something canid, ancient hunting dogs, bringing down a juvenile antelope. The kill is efficient, not cruel, not kind, just animals doing what evolution designed them to do. You're watching the Pliocene ecosystem function exactly as it did for millions of years before humans arrived, and exactly as it would have continued to function if we hadn't. And you realize something. This world doesn't need humans, doesn't want humans. We're not essential to its operation. We're just another species trying to survive, and most species fail. The only reason we're here in your time, the only reason humanity survived at all is that our ancestors were better at persistence than anything else. Not stronger, not smarter, at least not at first, just more stubborn. They refused to die even when dying made sense. They kept walking on injured feet. They kept trying to make fire even when the embers died. They kept getting back up after predators knocked them down. And eventually, after countless failures, after hundreds of thousands of years of barely surviving, they learned enough to stop being prey. But that's in the future. Right now, in the Pliocene, humans are still prey, and you're the proof. You don't have to remember any of this. 20 hours in, 4 to go. The sun is past its peak now, starting its afternoon descent. You've been here for nearly a full day. You've survived longer than you had any right to. But you're not going to make it to 24 hours. You can feel your body shutting down. Systems prioritizing, rationing, preparing for the end. Your lips are cracked and bleeding. Your tongue is swollen. You haven't had water in over 12 hours, and your body has stopped producing urine, saving every drop of moisture for essential functions. Your heart is beating irregularly, too fast, then too slow. Your chest hurts with each breath. You're dying of exposure, of dehydration, of accumulated trauma to a body that was never designed for this environment. And honestly, you're okay with it. You're too tired to be anything else. You've seen the Pliocene. You've walked in your ancestors' world. You've experienced what they experienced every single day of their short, brutal lives. And now, you understand something you couldn't have understood before. How miraculous it is that anyone survived. How improbable your own existence is. You are the descendant of 1,000,000 generations of people who refused to die on days just like this, who kept going when every rational assessment said they should quit, who survived long enough to reproduce, passing their stubborn persistence to children who inherited their refusal to surrender. You exist because your ancestors were too tough to kill. And now, here you are, their descendant, dying in the world that tried so hard to kill them. There's poetry in that, somewhere. Just let yourself be still. 22 hours in, 2 to go. The sun is touching the horizon. The sky's turning gold and pink and purple, the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen. And you're watching it die. The pain has mostly faded now. This is bad. This means your nervous system is shutting down, prioritizing consciousness over sensation. You're cold, but you can't shiver anymore. You're thirsty, but you can't swallow. You're hurt, but you can't feel it. You're just fading. The savanna is getting dimmer. Or maybe that's your vision failing. Hard to tell. You can hear the night sound starting, the hunters emerging, the day animals retreating, the eternal cycle of predator and prey continuing regardless of whether you're part of it. You think about what will happen to your body. Some scavenger will find it tomorrow. Hyenas, probably. They'll scatter your bones across the plain. Your clothes will confuse them. This strange synthetic material that doesn't exist in nature, but they'll tear through it eventually. In a few weeks, there will be no trace that you were ever here. No grave, no marker, just some unusual bones that will eventually fossilize with the wrong date stamp, confusing paleontologists in the distant future. You'll become a mystery, an anomaly in the fossil record. Modern human remains where they shouldn't be, and maybe that's fitting. You've been an anomaly your entire time here. 23 hours in, 1 to go. The stars are coming out again. The same overwhelming, impossible stars. You try to stay conscious. Try to make it to the full 24 hours. Not because it matters. You're dead either way. But because you want to complete the challenge, want to prove you could do it, even though you couldn't. Your vision is narrowing, tunnel vision, classic sign of the brain rationing blood flow. You can still see the stars, though. They're so bright. You remember something? A fact from astronomy class. Back when you thought knowing facts would help you in life. The light from stars takes years to reach Earth. When you look at a star, you're seeing it as it was years ago. Maybe centuries ago. Maybe millennia. Some of the stars you're seeing right now are already dead. You're looking at ghosts, at light from things that stopped existing long ago. And you realize you're the same. You're light from the future, a ghost in the past. Already dead in a sense because you were never supposed to be here. Your starlight falling backward through time. Let yourself drift completely now. 23 hours and 30 minutes in. Your heart is beating very slowly now. Your breathing is shallow. You're not unconscious, but you're not really conscious either. You're somewhere in between, drifting in a space that's neither life nor death, but the gentle transition from one to the other. And in this space, you notice things you hadn't before. The sound of wind through grass, how it sounds almost like breathing. The smell of the savanna at night, earth and grass, and the faint musk of distant animals. The feel of the ground beneath you, solid, ancient, the same earth your ancestors walked on, the same dirt that will eventually become their fossils and your fossils and the fossils of every living thing that ever tried to survive here. You're connected to them now. Not metaphorically, literally. Your body will return to the same soil theirs did. Your atoms will mix with their atoms. In death, you'll finally belong to this landscape in a way you never could in life. 23 hours and 45 minutes in, Your breathing stops, then starts again, then stops. Your heart beats once, twice. Long pause, once more. You're not afraid. There's no room for fear anymore, just observation, just noting what's happening with a strange detachment. This is what dying feels like. Not dramatic, not painful, just a gradual fading, like falling asleep but deeper, like the words in this narration getting softer and softer until they're barely whispers, like the story reaching its natural end. The stars above you are so bright, so impossibly bright, and in their light, you can see everything clearly for the first time. You were never going to survive 24 hours in the Pliocene. No modern human could. We're too adapted to civilization, too dependent on tools and shelter and the safety net of society. But that's okay. That's not a failure. That's evolution. We're not supposed to survive here anymore. We evolved away from this, traded our resistance to environmental extremes for intelligence, for social cooperation, for the ability to shape our environment instead of being shaped by it. Your ancestors made that trade. They chose bigger brains over stronger bodies. They chose tool making over fang and claw. They chose community over individual prowess. And it worked. They survived. They thrived. They eventually conquered this landscape that's killing you right now. But they did it together over generations, with accumulated knowledge passed down through teaching and practice and trial and error. You had none of that. You were alone. And alone, humans are weak. Together, we're unstoppable. 23 hours and 55 minutes in, 5 minutes left. But you won't make it. Your heart has stopped beating. Your lungs have stopped moving. Your brain is using its last reserves of oxygen to generate these final thoughts. And then even that will stop. Just let everything soften now. The stars are fading, not because they're going out, because you're going out. Your visual cortex shutting down. The world getting dimmer and dimmer until it's just darkness and the memory of light. And in that darkness, you hear something, not with your ears. Those stopped working a minute ago, but some other way, some deep species memory that transcends individual death. You hear the sound of footsteps, many footsteps, your ancestors, maybe the Australopithecus band, the humans who will come after them, all the generations of people who walked this exact ground, who felt this exact fear, who died these exact deaths until finally, gradually, humanity learned how to stop dying. They're walking beside you, through you, beyond you. You're not alone after all. You were never alone. You're part of an unbroken chain of survival stretching back millions of years and forward into a future you'll never see. And that's enough. That's more than enough. 24 hours. You made it. In a way. You're here at the end. witnessing the completion of the challenge, even if your body stopped participating minutes ago. The Pliocene killed you? Of course it did. It kills everything eventually, but you saw it first. You experienced it. You bore witness to the world that forged humanity. And now, as the last electrical impulses fade from your dying brain, as the neurons fire their final patterns, you understand something fundamental. This is where we come from. This beautiful, terrible landscape, this world of predator and prey, of harsh days and brutal nights, of constant danger and fleeting peace. We survived this against all odds, against every rational probability. We survived. And that survival is encoded in your DNA, in every human who's ever lived. The memory of these days, these nights, these desperate struggles to see one more sunrise. We carry the Pliocene with us, in our fears, in our instincts, in the way our hearts race when we hear something moving in the dark. We remember even when we don't know we're remembering, and now you remember too. The darkness is complete now. The stars have gone. The world has gone. There's just this gentle fading into silence, like falling asleep after the longest day, like the end of a story that was always going to end this way, like coming home to a place you've never been, but somehow always knew. Rest now. The Pliocene continues without you. The sun will rise tomorrow on a savanna that doesn't know you are here. The herds will move. The predators will hunt. The endless cycle will continue for another 2.7 million years until it becomes the world you knew. But you won't see it. You're gone now. Return to the earth, becoming part of the landscape that made you. And maybe, in the end, that's what this was always about. Not survival, not winning, just understanding, just seeing, just knowing. Now you know. Now you can rest, sleep. The wind moves through the grass over your still form. The stars wheel overhead. The night deepens toward dawn. And somewhere, miles away, an Australopithecus band settles into their sleeping trees, unaware that one of their distant descendants just died trying to understand where they came from. They'll wake up tomorrow. They'll survive another day and another, generation after generation, surviving, learning, evolving, until eventually, impossibly, they become you, and you, in dying here, complete the circle. Return to the beginning. Close the loop of time that brought you here in the first place. It's beautiful in its way, terrible, but beautiful. Just like the Pliocene itself, just like survival, just like the long, painful, magnificent story of how humanity refused to die even when the entire world was designed to kill us. Rest deeply now. Let the story fade. Let the images dissolve. Let the Pliocene drift back into the past where it belongs. You're safe now. You're not really there. You're here in your bed, in your time, where predators don't hunt you and water comes from taps and survival is guaranteed. You're safe. You survived. Your ancestors survived so that you could be here comfortable, drifting into sleep while listening to stories about the world that tried so hard to kill them. They won. We won. We survived. And now you can sleep peacefully, knowing where you came from and how impossible it is that you're here at all. Sleep. Let the tension drain away completely. Let the fear dissolve. Let the Pliocene become just a dream, fading with the softness of ancient memory. You don't live there anymore. None of us do. We evolved beyond it, transformed it, eventually made it disappear entirely, but it made us first, shaped us, taught us what we needed to know to survive. And now we remember it only in dreams and stories, and the occasional chill that runs down our spine when we hear something moving in the darkness. We remember, and then we sleep, safe in the knowledge that the long night of survival is over. We won. Rest now, deeply, completely. Let yourself drift into the peaceful darkness of a world where you're no longer prey. Let the story end. Let the breathing slow. Let sleep take you gently. The Pliocene is gone. You're safe. You survived. Now dream.